only is a moment, you know. Now we do these tunes that 6 months later, they sound completely different. So, probably better. But I mean, as opposed to a pop record that is locked, you know, any pop hit that is locked into what it is. It's a formula and it's an equation and it comes out the same, 2 + 2 = 4 every single time. Now that can be a great thing, but in this case, there's no equation for it. It's just like, it's like sliding down a slide. You know, you don't know how fast you're going to go. You don't know where you're going to end up. You'll end up somewhere. And so on stage, when we do these tunes, it's like, I don't know where we're going. Let's hit it. It might be faster. It might be slower. It might be this. It might be that. But at least it's spontaneous, because the people are so good, the musicians, that they can attack the basic structure of the tune with whatever their mood is, and we get some kind of thing happening, and it's kind of exciting. You know, it's all very spontaneous, really, which in music I think is a valid thing, very important. You know, it's at least as important as having the perfect 2 + 2 = 4 equation record, just the same night after night. If it's a hit, that's great. But I don't have hits, so I don't work on that basis, you see. All I know to do is just play. And all the musicians I ever saw when I was younger, it's about all they knew. So every night the thing sounded different. You know, the same song 1,000 times, and 1,000 times it was different each time. Kind of interesting.
Do you hit off nights much with this band?
Well, when we're not very good, we're still pretty good. Not very good would have to do with saying, well, I couldn't hear the drums right, or the snare didn't sound right, or the guitar was too loud, the bass was up too loud. All of that is merely just physical positioning. Do we like the sound of the hall? You know, in other words, that makes a lot of difference. If the hall sounds good, wow, we can go. If there's something wrong with the bass is booming in the hall, I get mad. It's like, God damn it. You know. But you have to have certain physical conditions, be as regular as possible. But when we play well together. It's past the point of, is it going to be any good? I don't worry about that anymore. You know, we've gotten to the point now where it's very good. It's good music. That's all there is to it. I might not be able to. I might forget a verse because somebody flashed a camera in my face and I forgot a verse. But it doesn't really make any difference. You know, it's still going to happen. Something's happening all the time. You know.
I've read an interview with you in Sounds magazine. I assume the British one. In which you said that you were very unsatisfied with Borderline, and the one before that?
Slide Area.
Slide Area?
I was unsatisfied.
And you had reached a point in which you were rather disgusted with what you were doing.
Oh, no. The point was, you see, that I wasn't doing anything. Records are funny things, you know. When you make a record, you don't necessarily do it just to say, hey, I made a record. Aren't I the greatest? You know, I was a kid. I thought it was great to make a record. When you're 23 years old, you make a record. You say, "Wow, record! I got a record here." But after a while, it needs to be something. You know, it needs to accomplish certain things. You know? So if it looked to me like nothing was going on, I wasn't selling any of them. I wasn't getting anywhere. I was touring and losing money, and it just seemed like a tremendous load. You know, a burden of nothing at all. And the machine of the record business and the entertainment business won't work for you unless you can sell records to a certain point. It's like you can't get that gear to shift. You can't get the car to go. It's a great big thing, you know, and you have to get it on down the road as best you can. So I figured, oh, to hell with it. You know, this whole record idea is something I just can't connect. I'm not going to do it anymore. I give up. I quit. So because it's too much work. And you got to make money. You got to have a career. I don't have really a career, but I have a job to do, which I look at it as a job. And you have to do your job and get your business taken care of. So I started doing movie scores, luckily for me, and I started to make some money. I said, hey, now this is something. They like what I do. They pay me. I go home. This record thing was just on, and more records and more records, you know, and what? So what? 17 albums later, so what? I couldn't figure it out. So then I thought about it, and I thought, no, that's wrong. The thing to do is not worry, because if you worry, all you end up doing is worrying. I'll make a record, but I won't worry about it as a record. Like this is a tape machine. It's product. See? You know what I'm saying? It has to be a certain way or people won't buy it. You know, if you made a tape machine that looked like a banana, nobody would want it. I mean, you have to have a certain thing. So now I make this record, I like it. It's fun for me. I'm not going around worrying, oh, is it a product? Will it sell? Is it this? Is it that? Because if you worry about the wrong thing, you're defeating yourself. See? That's a mistake.
What's the sense of accomplishment now? You said you needed to accomplish something by recording.
I needed to accomplish what I accomplished was to get off of worrying. That's one accomplishment. To just play the music for its own sake. That's to find that sense that I had when I was a kid, where we just played and enjoyed. You have to enjoy it. If a musician doesn't like to play, you ought to give it up. So I'd begun to be so bogged down by the business end, and that's just a mistake in perception, you know. You let yourself get twisted up by these things. So now I don't worry anymore. Now I say I'm going to play and it's going to be fun, or, you know, or I'll change what's happening and make it fun. We should, as musicians, play out in an enjoyable way, and then the audience will receive that enjoyment and that good feeling, and that's what they came for anyhow. You know, if there is an audience, I don't care if it's one person or a million people, what they want to hear, need to hear, is something that reaches them in a pleasurable way, in a good way. And in order to do that, the musician must feel open and like a conduit for those feelings. You know, so to hell with all that's business. You know, it either works or it doesn't work. My worrying about it won't change one thing. And then I put the guitar down. I didn't want to play it anymore. I thought, well, this is terribly sad. Geez, one day my kid said to me, he said, you don't play guitar anymore. And I thought, uh-oh, he's right. I better do something about this. You see, that's what comes from worrying about the wrong things. Worrying, period. Let alone worrying about business. You know? Business and music ought to be understood, two different things. Yeah.
But if you can't feed your family, I mean...
You do need to do that.
Yeah, well...
You need to do that in a way that doesn't hurt you, though. You don't want to be like killing yourself. You want to have... Life ought to be integrated somehow. In music, I figured that if I like what I'm doing, good things will come. And I'll get some money somehow, and I will feed them, and I ended up doing that, you know, with the movies. It's the first time I ever made any money in my life. And I thought, well, hey, this is something. Finally. Well, you get what you need sometimes.
Is that going to be your main source of income in the future as well?
Well, I don't know. I'd like to think that there's more to it than just that. But it's up to me to be diverse. You know, you have to. That's the modern concept: diversify. You know, get out there and see what it is. I can do a lot of things, but not just for money. You know, but because they're worth doing. And if you do things that are worth doing, somehow I think money will come. Money is a byproduct of that.
So somehow rather shocking to hear that coming from you, because you know we think of Ry Cooder as one of the more venerated musicians of the rock era. You know, he shouldn't have to worry about money.
Well, veneration is all very well, but I mean, it's like it's not a dollar and cents commodity. Veneration. I think veneration is a fine thing. I venerate musicians who had to borrow the dirt to bury them on. You know what I'm saying? And that's almost axiomatic. The best musicians I ever knew were the poorest people in town. And there's something to that. You know, they weren't in the business of going out and making money. I'm talking about village guys, you know, primitive guys who were just good at that. Like the next guy was good at making pots, or the other person wove blankets. You see, it ought to be like that. It hardly ever is anymore. So I don't know.
And with a band like Los Lobos, so successful. I mean, when we talked to Steve Berlin not too long ago, he recounted how, you know, when the band first started out, they couldn't believe people were actually enjoying their music. They had never expected. They expected to play weddings for the rest of their life.
Exactly, yeah.
But obviously, the public is waking up to this kind of music. So it would seem that even in your case, there's obviously a great market out there.
Oh yeah, there's a great market out there, and they came along at just the right time. Because 10 years ago, they wouldn't have gotten out of town. They'd have been doing weddings. And they started as a folk group, and then they became a rock group, and then bang. And it's interesting, when that started to happen, I thought to myself, now the time is come when all these middle-class people will want to go to this place. They'll want to have these experiences, these kinds of musical experiences. It's just taken that long.
Why do you say middle-class people?
Well, because poor people don't listen to Los Lobos, and rich people, well, it's not fair to say it quite like that. I say middle class. I mean, the great mass of record-buying people are middle class. They're not dirt poor farmers in the fields who can't afford records, CDs, and/or tape. do is just play. And all the musicians I ever saw when I was younger, it's about all they knew. So every night the thing sounded different. You know, the same song 1,000 times, and 1,000 times it was different each time. Kind of interesting.
Do you hit off nights much with this band?
Well, when we're not very good, we're still pretty good. Only as a moment, you know. Now we do these tunes. 6 months later, they sound completely different. So probably better. But I mean, as opposed to a pop record that is locked, you know, any pop hit that is locked into what it is. It's a formula and it's an equation and it comes out the same. 2 plus 2 is a valid thing. Very valid, important. You know, it's at least as important as having the perfect 2 plus 2 equals 4 equation record. That's the same night after night. If it's a hit, that's great. But I don't have hits, so I don't work on that basis. You see. All I know to do, it might be faster, it might be slower, it might be this, it might be that, but at least it's spontaneous. Because the people are so good, the musicians, that they can attack the basic structure of the tune with whatever their mood is, and we get some kind of thing happening, and it's kind of exciting. You know, it's all very spontaneous, really, which in music I think is for every single time. Now that can be a great thing, but in this case, there's no equation for it. It's just like, it's like sliding down a slide. You know, you don't know how fast you're going to go. You don't know where you're going to end up. You'll end up somewhere. And so on stage, when we do these tunes, it's like, I don't know where we're going. Let's hit it.